Alright lads, today we're looking at the newest fighter that has arrived in the Italian tech tree. You could argue, very thoroughly I believe, that either the Italians or the French have the worst tree currently in War Thunder. They're just so far out of the meta that they're barely worth grinding. But does the F-104S ASA actually change that? Well, that's obviously the purpose of this video. And the TLDR version of the video is basically, this is just an F-104S with a radar missile. You pretty much have the same performance as the other F-104s, but you have a Fox 1 semi-active radar homing missile, as well as some very spicy Fox 2 missiles. But let's not jump ahead of ourselves. The F-104S ASA is a rank 7 battle rating 11.3 jet fighter located in the Italian tech tree. It's cost you 340,000 research points and 930,000 silver lions. To put the plane in your lineup, it'll cost you 260,000 silver lions. And the expert in ace qualifications is 930,000 silver lions and 2,800 in golden eagles respectively. There are several camouflages available for the aircraft, as well as one on the Guardian marketplace. Without much further ado, let's jump straight into it. It's no secret that the F-104s are basically rockets. They say that most jets currently in the world are just engines and fuel tanks with some wings strapped onto it, but that concept is taken to the extreme with the F-104s. While this gives the plane a rather funny look to it, it does give some rather eye-watering performance, at least in terms of acceleration and maximum speed. This F-104 is powered by the General Electric J79 GE19 engine, producing 4,990 kg of thrust at military power, which increases to 7,690 kg of thrust when afterburning. This gives the F-104 an absolutely insane top speed, as well as a stupidly high climb rate. With clean wings, this F-104 can get 260 meters per second in terms of climb rate. What that means in game is you can take off, put the plane in a 30-degree climb, and basically just go AFK, and be at 15,000 meters altitude in several minutes. Now, with every other plane in the game, climbing to high altitude makes you pretty unmanoeuvrable, as the air is a lot thinner, and you can't really manoeuvre. Well, the F-104s can't manoeuvre at sea level, they've got barely any wing surface area. This means in the F-104s in general, and especially in this plane, you're better staying fast, and if possible, fast and high. Generally, you cannot climb the MiG-23 MLDs and other of the high climbing fighters on opposite side of the teams. And because you are so fast, you can kind of crank incoming Fox 1 missiles. So flying 45 degrees towards an enemy that's firing a missile at you, and then turning at the last second to the opposite 45 degree. And because hopefully you're flying at least Mach 1.1, you should be able to kinematically evade the missile. Basically the same way that you'd fly a Fear. There's not really too much more to say about the performance of the F-104s, they all play pretty much the same. You stay fast and you act basically like a vulture. You've probably seen lots of videos from other commentators saying you can't really carry in the F-104, and that definitely is true. It's not a plane that you can make plays with. You have to think of the F-104s as kind of like jousting planes, I guess. You take a really big long run up, you come into the battlefield very high speeds, you fire off a few missiles and put that Vulcan gun to work, we'll get onto that shortly, and then you exit at a similar high speed. You don't stay in the middle and try and melee about, you just get in, do your business, and get out of there. In terms of survivability, this F-104 has 60 flares and chaff. This means you can take 60 flares or 60 chaff, or 30 flares and 30 chaff combined. This isn't the highest amount of flares available, it is quite low if you're getting spammed, but it is more than usable in my opinion. Also, because of how fast the F-104 is, it's quite easy to evade rear-fired Fox 2 missiles. You can stay fast and roll from side to side, and the missile will try to... Fox 2 missiles work on proportional navigation, so they travel to where they think that you are going to be. So just doing some cancer rolls can pretty much fool every Fox 2 type missile in the game, every infrared seeking missile. So the F-104 is very fast, it climbs well, it can evade incoming missiles fairly reliably even without the use of flares. You will have trouble if you try and get into a rate fight, but obviously why would you do that with an F-104? Use your heads, lad. The plane doesn't really offer any variety in terms of playstyle, you're kind of fixed to the same one. Just go fast and make a thunder run in and out. But although you are forced into a certain playstyle, which for me isn't my cup of tea, but it is more than... You can have a pretty good game with it as long as you play with teammates. But enough about shitty tactics. Who actually uses tactics? I just hold down the left mouse button and expect to get kills. Alright, so the weaponry. So we know right away from the name that this vehicle does get Fox 1 type missiles, so it obviously has to use a radar system. This plane has the US R-21G M1 radar system, This doesn't have a pulse Doppler mode, but it does have an MTI mode. This gives you a pseudo pulse Doppler mode, but it is a little bit buggy in my opinion. It doesn't really track as well as a true pulse Doppler radar, but the advantage of the MTI type radar system is it doesn't give you an RWR spike, or it doesn't give the enemy an RWR spike. So when you have someone locked up, they will not know about it. But the radar itself does has a look down mode, the MTI, IFF, identify friend or foe, BVR, and ACM mode. So on to the actual armament. And being a plane of American design, it of course has an incredible amount of firepower. Starting with probably the most effective weapon at top tier, the 20mm M61 Vulcan minigun. As I said, this is probably the best air-to-air gun currently in the game, and in my opinion is far more reliable than any type of missile. You have 750 rounds of ammunition, but the gun itself has a fire rate of 600 rounds per minute. So obviously lads, just have some fire discipline. We now have the same selection of rockets. We have the Mighty Mouse rockets, which can penetrate 290mm of armour, as well as the Zuni rockets, which can penetrate much more with 457mm of armour. The Mighty Mouse are smaller and you can carry a lot more of them, whereas the Zunis are more powerful, contain a lot more explosive filler, but you can't carry as many of them. So, swings and roundabouts. Although, because the F-104 can't really pull high AOA, you don't really want to be ground pounding with this thing. The Germans tried to do that and it got the nickname the Widowmaker. Anyway, a similarly bad option in my opinion is dumb bombs, which we can carry a selection of them. We can carry 500 pound bombs with an explosive radius of 8 meters, a 750 pound bomb with an explosive radius of 11 meters, a 1000 pound bomb with an explosive radius of 13 meters, and finally, a 2000 pound bomb with an explosive radius of 20 meters. Again, just like the rockets, you don't really want to be getting into steep dive with any type of weapon on this aircraft. It's just not made for it. The plane, after all, was designed to be an interceptor. With the exception of the M61 minigun, the previous weapons we've spoke about are a little bit ineffective. We now come on to the actual decent weapons in my opinion. And up first, we have the AIM-9L Sidewinder. These in theory are all aspect missiles, meaning in theory these missiles can detect the heat signature of an incoming jet from the frontal aspect. However, in practice though, it's more of a side aspect to be honest. It does struggle to acquire a target when it's coming directly at you. And because you travel so fast in these jets, the closing distance is very, very high, so you don't really get a chance to fire it properly. Regardless to say, firing these missiles head on is a little bit ineffective. The missile itself though does have a rear aspect lock range of 6 kilometers, with a theoretical all aspect lock range of 3 kilometers. The missiles themselves though are very agile. They can pull a maximum of 30 Gs. And while they aren't the fastest air-to-air missile in the game, they have got pretty long legs on them. You can get some pretty long range kills with these things. Once again, that is helped by just how fast the F-104 is. Because you can fire these things travelling at over Mach 1.1, it artificially gives them a much longer range compared to if they were fired on the A-10 for example. Because an A-10 is only going half the speed you fly, they naturally won't be going as far. But like all other infrared missiles currently in War Thunder, they are easily affected by enemies flaring, turning off their afterburner as well as popping a few flares, and it should counter an AIM-9L. We then also have the Aspides. Now the Aspides themselves have a theoretical locked range of 80 kilometers, and they can pull 35 Gs. So the missiles themselves are very impressive, but there's a combination of reasons why I have never flown out with these missiles, and will refuse to. First of all, the radar is a little bit buggy. I've touched on this slightly, but it's quite hard to maintain a lock when you're using these missiles. The second reason I don't fly them is due to the loadout. You are unable to take the 20mm gun with the Aspides. You can either take 2 AIM-9Ls and 2 Aspides, or 2 Aspides by themselves, compared to the other options in the game, where you can take the minigun, as well as 4 AIM-9Ls, which in my opinion is a much better loadout. And due to the pretty much nature of the playstyle of the F-104 where you just thunder running into an engagement zone, you don't really want to have to be messing around with the radar. In my opinion, it's just better using the infrared Fox 2 missiles, like the AIM-9L. But theoretically, this plane does have a Fox 1 option available. However, I don't think it's a very good choice. But that's just me, and I'm not very good at top tier planes. So, should you actually ground this Italian F-104? Well, it's without a doubt the best fighter jet the Italians currently have access to. And as you've seen from the clips in the background, you can make this plane work, but as I said in the first segment, it does limit your playstyle really. It's not something like a May 23 MLD where you can just do literally anything and still have a good game if you know what you're doing. You are pretty much forced into being a supporting player, but that is by no means a bad thing. You can have a very helpful effect on your team. You can come on when people are dogfighting, you can come in and kind of clear their 6 or practically just steal their kills. That's what you mainly do, but that's top tier War Thunder for you, isn't it, boys? You spend 5 minutes in a dogfight before someone launches a missile from 4 kilometers away and kills them, just as you're about to get your guns on. But I am coping and seething and moulding and all the other types of internet words that I don't understand. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, lads. If you did, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. And if you really liked it, then please do consider becoming a member of the channel. Just like Deboer LX, Just Someone, Destroyer 1805, Dr. Bob, Tans, William Tessier, and Lola Alfonsi. Thanks, lads. Once again, thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next review.